Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles. This evening, we warmly welcome the family of Pilot Officer Fergus Allister Allan, whose story will be told shortly by Wing Commander Anne O'Leary. Wing Commander O'Leary, from the Royal Australian Air Force, is Pilot Officer Allan's great niece. We also warmly welcome Group Captain Bruce Chandler, retired, representing the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, flowers of the forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Pilot Officer Fergus Allister Allan. Fergus Allan was born on the 9th of May 1917 in the Melbourne suburb of Clifton Hill, the youngest of 4 children born to plumber David Lindsay Allan and his wife Lena. He attended Box Hill High School and later developed a keen interest in motorbikes and art. When the Second World War broke out in 1939, he was working as a clerk for plumbing company A.E. Atherton and Sons. Like many young recruits, Fergus Allan was keen to serve as a pilot. He joined the Royal Australian Air Force on the 5th of January 1941 and began training. He was sent to South Australia, beginning his initial course in Port Victor, today's Victor Harbour. He undertook observers training and bombing and air gunnery training before earning his Air Observer's badge on the 26th of July 1941. A keen writer, Allan corresponded often with his parents in Victoria, detailing his experiences during training. "Flying has been cancelled due to the drome being too sticky," he wrote. "You can't imagine the amount of mud. There is not one blade of grass around the huts, and even the tractors are bogged. We've been doing a bit of air-to-ground gunnery, that is, shooting at targets on the ground whilst flying past at about 150 miles per hour. Twice I held the record, but twice someone else pipped my score. At one time I was Australasian champion, air to ground, but now I am only second. I was going up today to try and bust it open, but due to the weather, we're stuck on the ground." Allan completed his training in late 1941 and travelled to the Middle East to be allocated to a squadron. He arrived in Egypt in September, where he had many varied and exciting experiences, which he also detailed in letters home. "We went out to see the pyramids and the Sphinx. They're about 5 or 6 miles from Cairo, right on the fringe of the desert. Abdul, our guide, had everything arranged, and when we got there, there were 2 camels and 2 donkeys waiting to take us to the Sphinx. I had first a ride on the donkey and the other 2 on the camels. We then did some crawling around the Pyramid of Cheops, which is the biggest in the Giza group." In October 1941, Allan received word of his next posting, number 70 operational training in East Africa. He left Cairo at the end of October and arrived in Kenya on the 13th of November 1941. Based at the town of Nakuru, the unit trained fighter and bomber crews to operate in conditions similar to the Middle East. Allan began his training as an air observer on the Bristol Blenheim liner aircraft, undertaking multiple training flights to prepare for his first posting to an operational squadron. He wrote home to his mother and father on the 16th of January. "I think I mentioned before that my pilot is Alan B. Hawkins and my gunner, George Emery, both South Australian and 2 of the best. We always fly together, here as the main idea is to give training. Anyway, the sun has set. The short twilight is raining. I have had my bath and have run out of news. I can only, with the best of everything and health, keep smiling. I reckon I'm getting pretty tough in life now. I found a hair on my chest today, and tomorrow, if I'm good, they're going to let me smoke a cigarette. But all my masculine charms are wasted in Kenya. Of course, that never worries me, fortunately. And to this note, I will close, trusting to hear from you shortly and remaining your loving and devoted son, Fergus." 1 week later, on the 23rd of January 1942, Allan and 2 crewmates, Hawkins and Emery, took off from the aerodrome on a training flight. Having completed the exercise, they began their approach to the aerodrome, when the pilot lost control of the aircraft, causing it to crash upon landing. There were no survivors. The following day, Allan and his comrades, Hawkins and Emery, were buried side by side at Nakuru Cemetery. Today, Allan's remains lie beneath a simple inscription chosen by his parents, "In God's keeping." Fergus Allan was 24 years old. His name is on the list of honour, on the roll of honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Pilot Officer Fergus Allister Allan, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as that we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.